reason that I'm here is because we're in business with the best people that I know in this industry.
Yeah.
Like deeply good human beings that are thoughtful.
Hey, it's Diona Reasonover.
And I'm Brian Dietzen. Welcome to another episode of NCIS Partners and Probies. Today we have one of the most amazing energies from NCIS Los Angeles.
He is prolific. He is a writer. He is a producer. He is an actor. He is Christian Olsen.
I mean, this guy, I'm telling you, we talk a lot in this interview about producing some amazing television because that's his primary job right now. He is executive producer of Matlock.
Yes, and I you know what really excited me about this? I think that I've read, a lot of interviews. I watched a lot of interviews with Eric, and he's talked a lot about his acting process. He's talked a lot about playing Deeks. I haven't heard him talk about this a lot.
I mean, we really go deep on what it takes to produce a show in Hollywood, whether it's NCIS Los Angeles, whether it's Woke, whether it's Matlock, whether it's NCIS Origins. We get into all of it here with the one and only Marty Deeks, played by Christian Olsen. Christian Olsen, thank you so much for being here today, man.
I'm so excited to be here.
Right?
You guys did a great job.
Why? Thanks.
Does it feel like
this
Squadron?
podcast is legit.
So-
You know what time it is in Hong Kong?
Yeah,
And New York?
exactly.
We're not
And those are
messing around.
accurate, by the way.
They haven't moved not one time. the
No,
entire
but
time
It's
we've been
not
here.
right.
Twice a day they are accurate.
That's exactly right.
You never spent any time in the big orange room on our set.
I never came to the mothership.
Yeah.
Really?
Isn't that wild?
I was
That's
never
wild.
there. I was never there.
Because you guys crossed over with Hawaii 5-0, and then we crossed over with you guys. We went to you.
Yeah, we went to the desert together to the airplane graveyard.
That was a really cool.
That was an amazing day.
Yeah,
That was a
I
really
wasn't
fun.
there for it. I just got to see the show.
Oh, that was a day in which we all realized like we should have been doing this 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we did it in your 14th season, which was the final season
Yeah.
of LA.
Problematic.
I really
Yeah.
wanted to come.
You should have come.
I wanted to.
You should have just come.
Yeah, okay, great.
Just show up.
Just show up. Why not?
They locked her
They
out.
did not let me in.
Yeah.
Just
They
give you
did
an
not let me in.
M4 and have you show up in the air. That was a big day, a lot of coverage.
Yeah.
But those
Some
were
action, man.
Yeah, we had some action.
So
that's what our show was.
Since 2023. So you've been off of the show for 3 years now. Do you miss the grind? Do you miss the going into Paramount and hitting it every day?
That's a great question. The second that I finished the show, I jumped on a plane and went to Toronto where we were shooting the pilot for Matlock. So we were already in prep.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we shot that before the writer's strike. And so there was no downtime. It was literally like I was prepping during the last 3 episodes and then jumped on a plane and went and was doing all the location scouting and then straight into the Matlock pilot. And then, so it never stopped, which is a good thing, which is a blessing.
What you want, yeah.
So the two of us understand you're an executive producer on Matlock, but if you could explain to our listeners, like, how does that come about and where did you did you write the script or
and
how
what
did this
drew
come?
you to Matlock specifically?
Yeah.
So there is an amazing executive at CBS. Her name was Brianna. And I was sorting through, this was like in the middle of COVID. And I was sorting through like the rest of us, just the absurdity of the world. And I said, I really want to do like a Werther's television show, like a feel-good television show where someone's in search of like justice and truth and honesty and the good guy wins, which is what I think makes CBS so successful in storytelling.
Yeah.
And I remember pitching her, I was like, we own the rights to Matlock. And she was like, right, what do you want to do with it? I was like, I want to bring back Matlock. And there was lots of discussions about what that would look like. But ultimately, Matlock's superpower is that he was underestimated every turn. And I watched as my grandmother, who was the smartest person in the room, got older. I watched as my mom, who was the most emotionally intelligent person in the room, as she got older and kind of became invisible and was underestimated for what she brought to the table.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what Matlock is. It's a 65, 70-year-old woman. And the development process, as you know, because you're doing this too, was insane. And I could tell stories for 5 hours about that process, but ultimately ended up with Jenny Snyder-Urman, who is the genius behind Jane the Virgin. And I remember her saying, I have a pitch for it. I think I may have cracked it. Do you have like 10 minutes? And I was in my driveway in Idaho and she pitched me Matlock. And I was like, oh, I have to think all of our development, because that's hands down like the strongest pitch I think I've ever heard. And you did it in 10 minutes and most pitches are like 30, 35.
Yeah.
And I called David Staff, who was the head of studio, and I was like, man, he was like, no, it's the best pitch any of us have ever heard. It's so good. And I was like, thank God, because I was questioning existentially like everything. And that process with her and the studio and Yelena and Amy, like it became kind of the most beautiful version of that original idea. And then when George read the script, who runs the network, he was like, it's Kathy Bates. I was like, Kathy Bates, the movie star? She got an Oscar? And he was like, no, it's Kathy Bates. And so we got to go after Kathy Bates to play Matlock. And I remember her when she read the script and she called Jenny and she was like, I'd like to sit down for lunch. And Jenny was like, ugh! And I was like texting all the way. She's like outside parking the car, and then she's having lunch with Kathy, and it's an hour. And it's an hour and a half. And it's 2 hours. And I was like, what is happening? And after 3 hours, she came out. She's like, she's in. And I was like,
I'm picturing you putting on like a waiter's outfit and like coming by, like setting down some drinks.
Hi, is your third cocktail.
Yeah.
Here's a Tom Collins. You love the script.
How's it going?
But I mean, if you've had a conversation with Jenny, she's brilliant. She's a genius.
Cool.
And Kathy is, like, as you can see from her, canvas of work, like the most passionate, hardest worker on the planet, and just wants to make things great. So the combination of those two people has been kind of the core of that show.
Man, that is so cool to hear about that came from your mom, because
Yes.
the heart of that pilot and what made that pilot so powerful was the turn.
Yeah.
I mean, spoiler, it's been on for 2 years. But like,
if you haven't seen it, you should go to Paramount Plus.
what are you
right now. Which camera
doing?
should I look at?
Yeah.
All of
Paramount Plus, the pilot
look
for
at
Matlock.
all of the cameras.
100 on Rotten Tomatoes.
But I'm
it's got
curious-
100 on Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm curious
Yeah, it's
because
100.
if you
100.
already had your mom kind of there, I'm curious. I'm like, what was the magic that Jenny bought? I gotta know.
The card flip, which was
Okay.
that she took our expectations as an audience on
Yeah.
what it is that we were watching. She told us the whole time what it is that she was doing, and then she flipped it on the audience. And so you had one of these moments that you don't get often as a generation of storytellers.
Yeah.
Like they did it in I See Dead People. The Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense.
Like
Yeah.
you can't pull that off very many times because audiences have gotten so evolved and so smart. And she was able to do it, which is why like we would watch the test screenings in Vegas where they have the knobs that they turn up where something's positive and something's negative. And I've sat through so many of those because I did a show on Sony for Hulu called Woke, where I'd watch him just go up and down and fighting for like, saving pieces of it because audiences rejected it. And you just saw the every time she would come on screen and do her like little Maddie Matlock bit, people be like, oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. Yeah. And then the card flip at the end and it just went, it hit the top and it went off the charts. It was like an ER testing.
Yeah.
Like it was so crazy to be a part of that moment where you watch people see it for the first time. Because that card flip where they realized, oh my gosh, I was judging her. I was doing the thing. And then it got flipped on me as an audience member. It was just like, people love that.
Yeah.
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 And even the property Matlock, you think, oh, it's about a doddering old man. And so that's so, and they're doing a remake of that. So it's going to be the same thing. And
now it's a woman.
Yeah.
And now it's a woman.
Yeah.
And that's just changed. And then you watch it and you go, oh gosh, oh no, this is entirely different.
Yeah.
And I came into it with these preconceived notions.
Same.
And I'm proven wrong. Like in the first episode, which normally takes a long time to build to that.
Right.
And I didn't expect to see myself in that. You know what I mean? But I always try to look to like what the future is, and I try to look to older women, and I hear them talk about that invisibility. You know what I mean? So when I first heard about Matlock, I was like, oh yeah, I remember my aunts used to watch this, this person, and then I was immediately hooked. Yeah. So it's great.
But that's it, right? Which is that it is Werther's television, which is a person seeking justice.
Yeah.
And a person that's underestimated, which I think is a universal feeling. We all do.
Yeah.
But I think, to go back to the memories of like me sitting on my grandmother's living room floor. It was like a circular brown rug and watching Matlock and eating Werther's candy And now that we have this show that has done as well as it's done, it's just such a crazy full circle. And I wish my grandma was around to watch it. But my mom watches every episode.
She knows.
But also goes, when are you going to go back on NCIS? I was like, the show's canceled, Mom. I'm not on there. She's like, but you're not on camera.
Hey,
man, come
we're
to
not
the room.
canceled yet,
Come to the room.
You're 25 seasons.
We're going on the 24th.
24.
And you haven't been in the big orange room yet.
Never
so
been in the big orange room.
I hope we do.
You want an invite?
I hope next season is actually like 24, where we just do like one episode an hour.
Oh, per hour?
You know what I mean?
We're going
I'm all for
we're
that.
going
You
the
should
pit
pitch it.
style.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gemmel would be up for that. Yeah.
He did it for the pit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So speaking of sitting on your grandma's brown rug, was it ever since you were a kid that you wanted to be a storyteller? I mean, is this? I mean, the way I would describe you to other people is, the
I'm
dude
so excited for this.
gets shit done. Like he really does. Like you get. I mean,
you.
let's just be honest, man. You have your hands in so many different pots, and you are cooking constantly, and you have things in development. You're in things. You're producing. And you're producing children as well. You know, you're a father and busy with
75
that.
children.
Yeah, 75 children.
Producing children?
He's producing. He and his wife
But I
produce
said
children.
this. I said like having a child is producing a TV show.
Yeah.
Every
Okay.
child is a different TV show.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are your
That's-
kids? What shows are they?
Oh, I've never thought about that. Like what specifically shows they would be. I'd have to think deeply before I answer that.
You don't want to get one wrong on
No,
that.
but I'm just like it is like every show has its complications. Every show has its complexities and what needs to be. Like if our job as producers is to give everybody an opportunity to be the best version of themselves and to make the best version of the show, that's true with kids as well. But they are fluid in a way that TV shows are not. So yes, to answer that, yes, that is a big part of my bandwidth.
Yeah, that's a big
4
part.
kids.
And so you have all these different things going. And so I'm curious if that major bandwidth that you have, that's very apparent in your work output, if that's kind of always been there since you were a kid, or did you start off as just saying, I just want to tell stories. I want to portray different characters. Like what was your childhood like wanting to do this?
That's such a good question.
Crazy thing.
My dad was an English professor, and a big part of my childhood was him, because I grew up in Iowa. You know, you're in the Midwest.
Yeah.
There isn't a lot of perspective unless it's brought through literature or television or film or travel. And so much of my childhood was him being like, here's a book, you should read this. And some of the books I read, I should not have been reading at the age I was reading. Like he gave me Richard Wright's Native Son and I was like 11. I was like, this is a lot. This is a lot to process. But I do think like the idea of stories have the power to change perspective. And we talk about this a lot, which is like when we're in development, God forbid this show gets picked up, we're going to have to make it. And so do we believe in the stories that we're telling? And are the stories we're telling for the betterment of us as a species? Because we're going to be exhausted or we're going to be tired. And being tired means you're working hard. Being exhausted means your soul's dead inside of it. And so if the stories you're telling have no meaning, we're just tired. Or we're just exhausted.
Yeah.
And so much of it is like the specificity of like using that bandwidth to tell stories that ultimately matter. And that I think has been installed since I was a little kid just with literature. And so, you know, our development slate is too big. Like I started off, my whole thing is like a to-do list and I would just go and crank through my to-do list. Well, now I never get to the bottom of it. And there's a separate to-do list for life than there is for like Cloud9, which is the production company that I started. And so you have to be really careful about, we have moments where we step back and say like, do we want to do this show? Like if this gets picked up, is this how we want to shoot nights? You want to be 2 a.m. telling this story?
Right.
Yeah.
But to go back to the first part, like I've always wanted to tell stories. And one of my favorite quotes is from Prefontaine, Steve Prefontaine, who's the runner for Oregon, who just had like a ton of natural ability. And one of his great quotes was, to give anything but your best is to sacrifice the gift. And so like, if we're going to be there, let's fucking do it.
Yeah. Be present.
Like we're going to be present. We're going to tell the best version of this thing. Like I'm going to spend an hour someplace. We're going to make that hour as we're going after it. Like we're going to get this.
Yeah.
Because what's the point? Like if we're going to be here and we're not doing the hustle, like what's the point? And so, you know, I would be on set and, you know, my co-stars can attest to this, is like deliver 2 pages of exposition and then I'm back on my phone trying to figure out what the next move is for a certain project, or how do we, you know, get a showrunner to partner up with this director, or how do we facilitate whatever's necessary for the next step in success. But like to give anything but your best is to sacrifice that gift. So let's go.
Damn.
All right, bye.
I know. I was like, damn.
I got stuff to
You're
do.
teaching me. No, you're freaking teaching me because you know what? I really want to move into producing, and it's hard to navigate a path because it's not a super clear path. It's not like you do this, this, and this. But to hear you talk about your to-do list and never getting to the end of it, I'm like, oh, great.
That's all of. I think that's probably all of us. But also, nobody wants that transition to happen for us.
Yeah,
no producer wants an actor to be a producer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a great producer coming up next, and maybe he'll think differently. But it's just like, I remember somebody literally saying the words to me, "Stay in your fucking lane,"
Yeah.
and I loved it. I was like, okay, let's unpack that. I was like, help me understand what it is that you're saying. And it was such an emotional response, but then we got to have a conversation about it, and it really was just like, you go smile and say the words.
Be
like,
pretty.
Don't. This is what we do.
Yeah.
So it's tough. Like I get it. And so many times I walked into those rooms with expectations of just like, okay, we're going to take this as a courtesy meeting. But I actually love that. Like, set the bar low and let's get after it.
Yeah, that's clear.
And then it's a meritocracy, and like the way that you get people on your side and seeing things your way is to make fans out of them, you know? And so if you go in and you do have the best ideas and you do have the best pitch, how do they say no if you can make them money?
It's not a meritocracy though. So I'm curious, how do you turn that when people's expectations are so low?
You underpromise and overdeliver.
Yeah.
Because the rest of Hollywood's the opposite, which is they overpromise and underdeliver. So I'm just balls and strikes. Here's the truth. This is why this show's going to be impossible to sell. Here's why I want to try to make it. But here's why it's going to be really difficult. And here's the only way we're going to make this happen, which is that you're pitching a period piece that's shot in the 60s. We can't shoot it on the volume. It's going to cost too much money. Here's what your pattern budget's going to be. So the only way to make this viable is if we take the core characters that you're already in love with and we turn them into a contemporary story, so we hold on to the things that you want without losing this. Like, here's a practical application of how to get this story made. Like, what is it's important to you and how do we make it happen? So that would be like an example of saying, you know, here's the truth. And they all, you know, and most of the times they'll go and sit down with like 7 or 8 pods, and every pod will tell them like, yeah, we want to do this. I'll be like, here's why it's hard. Like, here's why no one wants to make this right now. And here's what we heard from Netflix. And this is why this isn't going to sell unless we do X, Y, and Z. So here we go. And it feels like in a town, it's not just the town, it's across the board. Like, there is such a loss of trust of us as a species, like to find someone that's going to tell you the truth that you feel comfortable to fall apart in, that we're going to fail 7 times before we find success. Like, okay, let's make this journey together. And I think that's part of it. So under-promising, over-delivering, and then just having really honest conversations so that when the wins are there, the W is clear. When the losses are there, we're in it together, and we're going to work through whatever that loss is and come out the other side with a better product. Or to put that product to bed and say the process was the takeaway and we'll find something else. And I think that's part of our success too, is that most of our partnerships are return consumers, return partnerships.
Return customers.
Maybe not consumers. I don't know what you're buying, sweatshirts. But yeah, I think that's it, is the expectations are low, and you have to do everything you can to just prove that these people are wrong. Just outwork them all.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
As you've been acting in Hollywood prior to becoming a producer on Matlock or, you know, any of the shows that you've been working on with Cloud9, has your mind always been operating in this capacity, saying like, here's where there's inefficiencies, here's how they could be doing things better, and maybe, you know, keeping some of that to yourself as you're a workaday actor, you know, going from job to job prior to, say, NCIS Los Angeles?
Yes, I shadowed everybody that I loved, and I shadowed people that I knew were problematic too, to see kind of where those mistakes were, and watch, especially in development, like what happens when ego takes over.
Right.
So some people that were successful but had a ton of ego leading their conversations, and watch that like blow apart in a catastrophic way. And even when shows get passed on, my first question is like, I got it, walk me through what we could have done better. Like that's the response, not like fighting for something that isn't right, especially if it's not right. And if you do fight for something, it's because you haven't done it on the last 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, so shadowing everybody, the people that I love because they were successful and really good at their jobs, or aspects that were specific to them, that aspects of the job that they were specifically good at, and then parts that that weren't great at it. But yeah, as we all can say, like, there's so many inefficiencies in how a set is run, and it drives me crazy. Yeah. Like, everybody that's in this room that was on an email thread with me from yesterday, they gave me a call time, and they gave me a call time of an hour before I had to be here. And then hair and makeup was 15 minutes after that. And then we sat around for a half hour, and I literally dictated to my phone. I was like, yo, take off the kid gloves and give me a call time for somebody that knows how to like make television, and what time do you actually need me?
Yeah.
and it was dictated by Siri, so it came off super aggressive. But it's like, I know the inefficiencies. Like, you want me on camera at 12 o'clock, and I've got hair and makeup. I'll be here. I'm never late. I'm never late for anything.
Yeah, you're out early.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, show me what the inefficiencies are. Because if you tell an actor to be there at 11 o'clock, but you don't use them until 12 o'clock, guess what that actor does?
They start showing up
coming
late.
at
Start showing up late.
Yeah.
So if your call time is 11 o'clock, I want a rehearsal at 11:02. So that actor knows that if he's 5 minutes late, I got 200 people looking and going, where is he?
Yeah.
Where is
Yeah.
she? So you just built in a system that says, like, we're taking away all the inefficiencies and making sure everybody knows that this is a community and we're all going to service the best version of that to make this the best possible product. So those efficiencies across the board, like, drove me crazy.
Yeah.
And part of my method of, like, whether it's, frustration, like, the best way to deal with frustration is through action. So it's like taking count of, like, that's something that I will change when I have the power to do so. Like, how do I make people, again, give them the opportunity to be the best version of themselves, but also tell the best version of whatever the story is. And it's not making an actor sit in his trailer for 2 hours because somebody goes, well, I just want to be fearful in case that they hit traffic. Like, no, we're all adults. We're going to show up on time. Like, if Brian has to be at work at 12 o'clock, you give him a call time at 11:55.
Yeah.
And he's going to show up.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, we're going to use shame. Which is something that's been completely lost in this world. Like, no one has shame for anything anymore. Be like,
Yes.
Do you want to hear the shame story from our set?
yes.
Yeah,
I'm so excited about this.
So at the beginnings of NCIS, probably the first 4 years, if you were late, and I mean late by 45 seconds, late, Harmon would be next to the trailers, and he would just walk right in there, and there'd be an alarm clock set on your counter. So when you came through, there's an alarm clock, and you just go, basically, like, here's one if you need it, essentially.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, I'm going to argue that's genius.
I think it's
Yeah.
Was anyone ever late?
Oh yeah, I wasn't.
No,
I
but
never got
after
it.
that, after you got the alarm clock in your room, were you still late?
I
It's been
think
23 years, so probably.
I think there's probably, I can think of a person who maybe, might have gotten
something
late
in
a
your
couple.
throat?
Sorry,
Did you have
I did a little.
We got an off-camera laugh for the weather show.
No, but I think he got that a couple times. But the point is that that's not an aggressive move, and it's not like outwardly to everybody on the set shaming you, but there is a little bit of shame there.
Yeah.
Of like, we're setting a tone, man. We're setting a standard. And also, we right here in this room, we have a dozen people, right? On a full set, we're going to have 170 to 200.
Yes.
Like, they are all waiting,
Yeah.
And so our job is to, I think Tom Hanks said, show up on time, know your stuff, and have an idea. Those are your three jobs as an actor.
I love that.
That's it.
That's
And
great.
two things to echo that, which is that, I remember my mom telling me this one, if you have lunch at 12 o'clock with somebody and you show up 5 minutes late, what you're saying is your time is more important than they are.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're like, that is an impossible, like, that is so hard to come back from. So you show up early. And then my dad would say, tardiness is the luxury of kings, and you don't have a kingdom. Which is also like, unless you're the king,
luxury of
you're showing up on time.
But also, you don't want to be the king who's late even.
Right. But that's and this is the assumption was that none of us were ever going to be kings. No one else could ever be running anything. But truth is that you're right. That second part of this, and if you are the king, you still show up time because you have to dictate for other
Well,
people.
that's what I
That's
think.
well said. I'm going to go back and calm.
I never liked that phrase, we all have the same 24 hours, because not everybody has the same like ability. Not everybody has the same. But the idea that we all have the same limited amount of time, which makes it all equally valuable, that I appreciate a lot.
Wait, what's the first part you don't agree with?
I don't agree with when people say like, hey man, why aren't you doing this? We all have the same 24 hours. I'm like, yeah, but that person has a 2-hour commute. You know what I mean? That person has to take the bus. That person has a driver.
Financial means are different.
You can't use the 24 hours the same way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the idea that all of our time is valuable, that I appreciate.
But if you agree to be someplace at 12 o'clock, whatever the circumstances are that makes that harder than other people, if you say yes, then you have to be there at 12 o'clock.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
I'm talking about.
I drove from Santa Barbara today.
Yes.
I'm going to be here at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like whatever my call time is. Once I say yes.
I'm talking about when people are like, hey man, why haven't you, gone to the gym every day? We all have the same 24 hours. I did it. Why didn't you? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's
what
not a
I don't
fair
like.
statement.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But you've built like excellent communities. Like when I look at the cast, when I look at the people that you're working with, like you have Leah Lewis,
she's
Jason
amazing.
Ritter,
The best.
Kathy
She's the
Bates,
best, man.
obviously.
Kathy's incredible.
You've built these people, and this trust that I see that you're talking about, like that's very apparent. How do you kind of like go about building your team?
So casting's different than, like, I have 3 people that work with me at Cloud9. And that was a interesting evolution to get to that, which is that the first time I said I want to be a producer, they're like, okay, you need an adult in the room that doesn't have flip-flops on. And they put me with like an executive. And that was a very different relationship than I have now with the team that I have. I don't know if you met Anna or Amanda or Lauren, but they're superstars. And Four Seasons has this incredible philosophy about hiring, which is that you hire the human and the rest can be taught.
Four Seasons, the hotel.
The hotel.
Okay.
And it's as you walk
Not the
through,
landscaping
I was
company.
like, what?
Yeah, sorry.
Four Seasons Landscaping Company.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like it's one of these companies where their hiring philosophy was really about you get the right person and we'll give them the tools.
Yeah.
And so I have both the people that have the tools and the human capability, like such good human beings that also have the skill set. And so that building together the team for Cloud9 has been really thoughtful and, looking through, because it's a tough time in the business, as we all know, like thousands of resumes and doing 30 interviews and then 5 more for a second view and then giving them material and going through and talking about, storytelling and everything else. So that part of the team is, I couldn't be more excited about who I get to work with now. Like these are such amazing human beings and are such good storytellers. For the casting part of it, is that what you're talking about?
I was talking about all of it. So,
Well, but let's just look at the whole crew. Let's look at the whole crew,
Yeah.
which is that you do a ton of due diligence before you hire anybody, and you make 1,000 phone calls, and you say, "Tell me, a highlight here, and tell me something that this person struggled with," and you get to know everything before you go into it, because I want to know, like, again, what are the possibilities for this to go sideways, and when it does go sideways, what's the catalyst for that? Why is this person X, Y, and Z? And so, casting. It's easy, super easy to hire Jason Ritter because he is one of the most beloved people in Hollywood. And he's
Incredible
great, and we're so lucky to have him.
Yeah.
he's great.
I think that's true across the board with your gaffer and with your hair and makeup and with locations and casting, and everybody is just spending a ton of time making sure you're getting good human beings that want to do the work and are passionate about the stories that you're telling, but then also the ability to pivot if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Which is like, we're going to have hard conversations. And this conversation is going to be about like, here's what's expected. And if we can't do this, then we got to move on. Like, here's your opportunity to make, a pivot. And if we can't do it, we got to find somebody who's willing to or has the skill set.
Well, and the fact that you guys get to shoot here in Los Angeles, that is a huge thing. I mean, we had the other day our
Congressional
special effects coordinator on, and his son is the 4th generation special effects coordinator in their family. So, I mean, we're talking about multi-generational talent.
Yeah.
That is the pool that we get to pull from here, and you get to as a producer. I'm sure that makes your life a lot better.
The amount of talent we have in Los Angeles is unparalleled.
Yeah.
The amount of depth of talent. It's a longer conversation about just like how impossible it is to shoot in the States in general. LA being problematic, but in the States, because everything's going to the UK and to Ireland and to Malta and to South Africa.
I mean, CBS has 12 shows that are being shot in Canada right now.
Yeah.
And
one in Belarus for Paramount.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What's
Tony
that
and
one?
Ziva
That was Tony and
shot-
Ziva.
No, it was
right.
in Budapest.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But
State of the Four Seasons.
yeah, probably.
Full.
But
We can cut that out.
But yeah, we can.
We're not gonna.
I know it's a deeper conversation, but I'd like to scratch the surface on you as a producer and how you see this problem being addressed as it comes to leveling the playing field. Not saying like we need to get a leg up on Canada and make it so much cheaper, but to actually level the playing field so that we can choose where we tell our stories instead of having to flee to another country and pay taxes there.
So we did the congressional tour of Matlock, and then they went to Origins. They didn't go to the mothership. And I talked with a bunch of bipartisan Congress people about this, which is simple. We need a federal tax incentive at 15% that's stackable on top of our states.
Okay.
So state still has an idea to, if it's 35% for California, the stackable 15 makes it 50%. Atlanta all becomes a viable option again instead of losing all these Marvel shows to the UK.
Yeah.
That has to come from Congress passing a federal 15% stackable incentive.
Yeah.
That's my answer to that.
Yeah, because when they came, it was so funny because Wilmer and I went down. We were talking to some of these congressional members about it, and
you did come down.
Yeah, it was.
He
Yeah,
did.
Will and I.
Will
And I were talking to them about it, and Will before we started speaking to as the House Judiciary Committee, and before I started speaking to them. So listeners, anyhow, some of the Congress came out to Paramount lot one day, and they wanted all of us to speak to them a little bit about what it meant to film in Los Angeles, to film in the United States. And before we start speaking, Wilmer looks at me and goes, "You're better at the heart stuff, so talk about your family and everything. I'll talk about all the numbers and everything." I said,
right before you're talking?
"Sure, let's do it."
Great.
No, like 5 minutes before.
At least you know.
Yeah, but it means a lot because what I got to say, quite honestly, to everyone is the fact that I've worked on NCIS for over 20 years means that my children who are 19 and 16 right now, I got to see every violin concerto. I've gotten to see every basketball game. I've gotten to watch my children grow up, and I haven't had like miniature divorces for 6 and 9 months at a time where I had to leave my wife and go to, Toronto or Montreal or go over to Budapest, and then come back and try and catch up with life again. I've gotten to see my children grow up. Now you multiply that by 250 people in our crew and another 2,100 part-time workers on our set. And you are affecting, every person's life, and you're supplying middle-class life for middle upper class for Los
250 people
Angeles.
easily.
Yeah. But
for show.
the other aspect of that we talked about with our special effects coordinator is it's not just that fourth generation of like, oh, we've this is good for the family. It's also good for the program because it's a crash course in learning how to do this stuff. It takes time.
Yeah.
And to be able to pass that on basically like from the time the kid shows interest.
Yeah.
And here, come on sets. I'm going to show you how this works. There's no time always to train up people all over the world. And I've shot some other places where the crew's great, but it's clear that they just have not put in the hours to be able to do things effectively.
Yeah, that's well said.
And I'm glad that we're talking about this because we have a lot of congressional members that listen to this podcast specifically.
Well, we can call them.
15,
I got about 4
15%.
cards that day of Congress people.
I got a few too. Yeah.
And so, I think you're 100% right. And I do think we have an Apple show that takes place in Houston, Texas. And we were meeting with line producers in Calgary. They're like, it's Texas. It looks like Houston. I was like, what? They're like, Calgary looks like Houston. It's oil money. And they literally, Location Scout presented us a full PDF of all the locations in Calgary to look like Houston, Texas. And I was like, whatever our political beliefs are in the spectrum of today's politics, nobody wants a show that's supposed to take place in Houston, Texas, to be shooting in Calgary, Canada.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I told that story to, there was a couple Congress people that were, I'm not going to make a political statement, but
okay.
yes,
but
we can cut that. We can cut that.
We'll say they're Texas Congress folks or
whatever the belief is. That's you don't
right.
want that. You don't want a show that's supposed to be in Houston, Texas, being shot in Calgary.
Yeah, no, true.
Unless you're from Calgary.
True. And I've talked to some Canadian actors that are frustrated too because it's a lot of American productions and they're like, we can't get a leg in to our own productions that are being shot in Canada because you guys keep coming in and kind of like, doing these roles. And I'm like, well, yeah, if you're getting a Canadian tax credit, you probably should hire some more Canadian actors. It should, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They do. They have I don't know what the specifics are, but it is like a certain amount of people are required to be Canadian. It's a pretty strong union.
And they do just fine on their taxes that they should take out of our paychecks when we go up there, which is
you paid the double tax. You shot in Montreal where you paid the Montreal tax and then you paid the Canadian tax.
It's great.
Then the California tax.
Yeah.
Cute.
So you obviously have quite the voice at Paramount, producing stuff. We're talking to Congress people. Did a lot of those relationships start with NCIS Los Angeles? I mean, just working on that, or did you have relationships with these folks prior to that even?
No relationship prior.
Oh, okay.
Whatsoever.
So basically, we're talking Deeks is the doorway.
Deeks, and they didn't want me.
Go on.
They didn't want me as Deeks. So
who did they want?
I
Did they want you a different role or?
No, they just didn't want me, period. So I had done a development deal at Fox and was working at Fox all the time. And then there was the executive that ran ABC hired me for like 4 years on pilots, but I was always off doing movies. And then I said, I found love. And I was just like what you said so eloquently, which is like, I don't want to have many divorces. Like I want to be in Los Angeles and shoot a TV show. And I said, I called my agent, Delusions of Optimism. And I said, just find me a TV show that shoots in Los Angeles. And they were like, okay. And they're like, we actually have this.
Push the TV button. And then it's like, you're a series regular. Well done.
I mean, that is the hopeless delusion that carried me through the first 47 years of my life. They were like, we have a show that's looking for a series regular. It's to play like a street cop. And I was like, okay, what is it? They said it's already on the air. And I was like, okay, what's it called? And they were like, NCIS Los Angeles. And I was like, I've never heard of it. They're like, it's the number 2 show on TV. And I go, what's the number 1 show on TV? And they said, NCIS. I go, I've never heard of that. And they were like, just take the meeting. And so I showed up. This is like episode 11 of NCIS Los Angeles. And I sat down with Shane Brennan, who was the person that came from the mothership and
created the show.
Yep. And he just kind of talked about the character and he's like, you want to try some stuff? And I was like, sure. And so it was me and him and a finger gun in a scene with just casting and Shane.
You're just like in their office.
In like the office. And he had like scripted, a page and a half of dialogue. And he's like, I feel like you want to try some stuff. And I was like, well, what's the goal of the relationship? Let's talk about the relationship. And it was like, they were trying to find a partner for Kenzie, which is Danielle Aruba. And I was like, like, is it flirty? Like, is he like, and I was like, I'm just going to make fun of her. And so it was like me improving, making fun of this character about like her sleeveless tee and her tank top and blah, blah, blah. And that was it. Like that was my introduction into that. But they sent that tape evidently to the executives that are no longer at CBS. And they're like, let's keep looking. They're like, cool. What else you got? And Shane fought for me.
No kidding.
Nice.
Shane, who there's some deep flaws in choices that he made along the line, but I have to call balls and strikes. Like he fought for me, and then once I came on and I was supposed to do 5 episodes, and I think I did 1 or 2. And then I went off and did a movie, and then he fought to bring me back for season 2.
Yeah.
And then CBS was, amazing and warm, and have become the reason that I'm here is because we're in business with the best people that I know in this industry, like deeply good human beings that are thoughtful and I think are human first in a very difficult business. So yeah, I think through that show, and then one of the people I shadowed was this guy Will Gluck, who I ended up doing Woke with on Hulu, who directed Easy A and a bunch of different movies. So smart. He said to me, the first thing you go out with is the most important thing you go out with, because it's going to set the tone for what it is that you're trying to do and the stories you're trying to tell. So don't go out with something unless you're positive. And so the very first thing I brought CBS was like, it was a half-hour comedy, and it was the story of this kid, these 2 brothers. One was like 12 and one was 23. And there's a car accident and the parents die with the 12-year-old, and he moves in with his brother in New York City. And it's this very complicated, beautiful story about the 12-year-old helping this mid-20-year-old refind what his North Star was and what it is, the hopes and expectations and dreams that he had before life had, drilled them down to nothingness. And it was beautiful, but dark, and also a half-hour comedy. Yeah. And CBS was like, that's never going to sell. And I was like, okay. And then I took it to, God bless, Rashida Jones. And she was like, this is so good. And they brought it to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers like, we want to make it. And then CBS was like, wait, what?
Yeah. Hold on
a second. And then CBS came in and trumped that offer, and we set that up at Fox. That was 100 years ago. Yeah. But the specificity of that script and that dark comedy, but real issues and heartbreak, and then the script was really, really good. Ultimately, it didn't get made, but it set the tone of like, this is the stories that I wanted to tell. And those meetings turned into more meetings, and then turned into like, oh, I found something here. And one of the other things that I brought in, there's an author called Pierce Brown. Do you know Pierce Brown? He wrote The Red Rising. It was a trilogy that was a New York Times bestseller, but now he's written 7 books. He had written a script that was so good. And I was like, I want to make this. And that we partnered up with Alex Kurtzman and those guys. And then another script partnered up with Bruckheimer and them. And I literally and they all know this, the first 3 things that I set up with the studio, I was like, I want partners. And they're like, but you kind of, and I was like, I need to learn. And so we partnered up with super powerful producing partners, and I just stole their development process. Like, here's what Bruckheimer does better than everybody else.
Yeah.
Here's what Kurtzman does better than everybody else. And then one other person that was just kind of DOA, so I won't mention them. But like everything I could learn from their process, and then started implementing it in how I approached.
And you created your own
process.
based, you
great.
Frankensteined it from their process.
Hell yeah.
Frankenstein's the right word. But yeah, I don't know if that was the question you asked me. I don't know.
That's really
I
cool.
don't.
So that was the relationship. So all those
so that's
relationships came
relationships.
from having those conversations about like what you're excited about.
The beginning of like Cloud9 and you becoming this wonderful producer. This is happening concurrently with you filming a television show for 12 hours a day.
Oh yeah, full time on NCIS LA before.
Yeah.
So before COVID, we did it like the mothership, which is like all 4 people. You'd have your opener, you'd have your banter scene, you'd go out and solve a crime, and you would just move that whole team. So everybody was working 8 days a week. Everybody was working 10 hours a day.
Right.
So it was literally just me on my phone, like, trying to pull off the
Just going off in the shadows and then coming back to the lights.
Prefontaine.
Yeah.
Like, we're here, let's do something with our bandwidth. Like, I
Trying
get so
to hit
mad
that
when I see
4-minute
somebody
mile.
playing like Candy Crush. I was like, what are you doing? Like, this is a moment. We could be doing anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was all during that. Yeah. Which is wild to think about because, we had an office and I would never go to it. And this is before we did Zoom meetings. And so we would take a meeting and someone would be pitching us something and I would like drive from Paramount to CBS Radford. I'd be into a pitch. I'd be like 10 minutes into a pitch and I'd be like, this is a terrible pitch. I actually don't like this writer. I have to get out of this room. Like, I can't sit here for another 45 minutes. I have to leave.
Yeah. Damn.
And I'd be like, at a half hour up, I'd be like, I got to go back to work. And I'd get up and walk out. Be like, I got to go. And then I go back to set.
Yeah.
So your production office was...
We were at Radford and we were
different side of
shooting at
town.
Paramount. So I was driving from Paramount to Radford for like, it's also why I hate like people that like go have lunches. I'm like, no, just tell me what it is you want to do and let's just talk about it.
You're incredibly efficient. For people who aren't in LA, basically that's saying like I drove in the middle of traffic and drove through more traffic and hit some traffic.
For like 35 minutes
That is what it is.
each way.
That whole thing.
And then very quickly you realize this is a waste of your time and you're like just like questioning everything. That's why Zooms are amazing. But driving, we used to do the water bottle tour, which is you would get in your car and you would go pitch in person to like 5 different networks.
Yeah.
So you'd be in your car for an hour, you'd go, you'd do your song and dance. People wouldn't know where to look. Like it was so, and be like, here's our show. And they'd be like, thanks. It's so surreal to even think about that time that existed in our lives, which is like, that's how I learned to like, I would go to like CAA and William Morris and be like, whoever wants to meet with me, let's put them in a room and give me 35 minutes to like talk about. And they'd be like, who's this dude? Number 6 on the call sheet for CSI Los Angeles. Like, who are you?
So in the midst of all of this pitching, are you inserting yourself into some of these pitches as well for, as an actor and saying, I'm going to produce this thing, but I also, this could be a vehicle for me? Or is that kind of off the table because you're looking at...
I would always say the same thing, which is like, I could play this role, but I'm pretty sure we'll find somebody better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And we can, like, with Woke, we found people better for every role. Like, there was a role for like the best friend that was, oh my God, I hate myself for forgetting his name. Blake.
Blake Anderson?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he killed it like a genius. Like I would have been like so sad if I wasted those lines on me instead of giving them to him. So it's always the same, which is like, there's a possibility. There's, this is something that I could play, but also, we'll go get Scott Conn. Like go get somebody that's going to be amazing.
Scott Conn. That's great. And in the middle of this, you're also still writing NCIS LA script. Did they come to you and say hey, we want you to write?
No, you've done this. They did not come to us.
You're my inspiration, man.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I did know that. I think you told me that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to direct and I had shadowed everybody.
Same.
And I can't give notes to a writer until I've gone through the process that I'm going to give them notes on. So I was just like, and I think I told you that too, which is like, if you're going to give notes to a writer, you have to understand what it is you're asking because everything's a heavy lift.
Right.
So I sat down with Gemmel and I was like, I want to write an episode. And Scott Gemmel, God bless him, is one of the most wonderful people on the planet.
A damn good writer.
Yeah.
Arguably one of the best in procedural television.
Yeah.
Like he's now the creator of The Pit. He's won 1,000 Emmys.
He won a couple prizes this year.
Yeah,
He won a couple prizes.
He did good for himself.
He got a mug. He did get a mug.
He did get him.
Have you had him in yet?
You're going to get a mug today, friend.
No, you're going to take him a mug.
No,
please. We haven't had him in yet.
You
we
should
want
have
to.
him.
Two nights ago,
he said he would do it.
He said, I saw him at the, when we were hanging out together, and he said yes.
He said he would do it. And he absolutely will.
yeah.
On his arm, have him show you the tattoo. It says "fade in," like pure writer.
It says
like,
"fade in."
Fade in, like the core of who that human being is.
Oh,
He's
that
like,
goes hard, man.
I love it. I love
That's
it so
good.
much. But he was so generous and had so much grace to be like, yeah, okay. I should have saved some of the notes that he sent me. One of them was this giant aquarium where a dead body was floating. It was like the visual element of this moment in which they come to this house, and this character that we're looking for, who's created these sins of sociopathic capitalism and defense spending, they find his body like in an aquarium. And he literally wrote out the math of like what the aquarium would cost to build it and how much water was necessary. And he was
Wow.
like, it was such an amazing note because it was so like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And we changed it. We changed the whole thing. But he was incredible at that process of giving me an opportunity to write a script. And I wrote one with a buddy, which was really fun. And then I wrote one solo and had a blast doing it. Would literally like sit down and blink and 6 hours were up. And I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I'd send off the pages and they'd send me back all the, okay, here's why you're an idiot. And,
And one you wrote by yourself, Danny directed, right?
yeah, Danny directed it. And she did an amazing job.
That's
She did an amazing
fantastic.
job. Yeah, that was about a true story about how gun manufacturers knew that people, straw buyers, were buying weapons in the U.S. and smuggling them to cartel members in Mexico. So much so that gun manufacturers were specifically building and marketing guns that they knew cartel buyers that had like quotes from
shit.
Mexican nationalists.
Yeah.
So they knew it. And they were like,
Yeah.
oh, here's the straw buyer who just bought like, $2 million in guns, and we know they're going to be run across the border. And so there's a person that was a whistleblower within that gun manufacturer's company that said, here's what's happening. And then the cartels hunt him down. So it was like a race to the clock to find this guy. And LL gives a great big speech. And I had so much fun doing it. And Danny, she's a great director. And
She really
crushed
is.
it.
Yeah, she came over and she crushed on our show too.
Yeah, she's great. I want
fantastic.
her back for like the entirety of season 24.
Yeah,
Tell your producers.
I know.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
We are.
Good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, man. So speaking of NCIS and your producing capacity, I just found out recently that you are going to be producing on NCIS Origins for season 3.
Yeah.
Tell us how that call came. Like what's I mean, obviously, so to set the table, Gina Monreal departed the show. We just had David North on, and we spoke to him about that and how moving into season 3 is going to be a different work dynamic. And you got the call to help out. Tell us what that was like.
I think you just set the table really well, which is with Gina leaving, like, let's give them every opportunity to succeed in this season 3. Mm-hmm. And bringing in, she's those two together wrote 2 great seasons of television.
And they're both like on the Mount Rushmore of NCIS writers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Very much
it's
so.
up there with
incredible.
Gemmell. Like
Hitters.
Yeah.
Absolute hitters. And so it's like, you have a season 3, we're going to have to bring in a lot of people in the writer's room to make sure that we can continue to tell those great stories. And so that's, it's every aspect of preparing for this. And right now we're, stacking that writer's room with so much great support for David.
Cool.
And some people that we're so excited about, and figuring out like, all right, what does this person speak to? What is their strength set, and making sure that all those pieces are full. And we have an amazing group of people that'll be joining him for season 3 to make sure that, that cast is incredible.
It's
Very
amazing.
good. We just had Austin Stoll.
I just saw him downstairs. He's so handsome.
Yeah.
He never stops being handsome. He doesn't take a minute off. Like, I'm like, dude, just take a break.
Break
okay?
from being so handsome.
Like, well, I'm feeling kind of schwitzy and stuff, and I'm looking not so good. You're always handsome.
He's so handsome. He's so good. And you look at those characters and you think like they've done such a beautiful job of building such complex backstory. And I get knowing what's in store for premiere week now for season 3 is really going to be compelling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think when that phone call came to say, can you and your team help out for next season? I didn't have to think about it. It was like, this is an absolute yes.
Yeah.
Like whatever I can do. Like, obviously the NCIS universe is such an important part of my life, and the opportunity to come in and help with everything we talked about, like what you see every day on the mothership.
Yeah.
Like how can I help? Like how can I have a voice at this table that can help fix some of the stuff that we're seeing? Like, to be able to do that with, and this isn't so much fixing it as much as like it's the support after losing one of your co-showrunners. So just giving them, as I said, every opportunity to tell the best version of that story, because I think the audience deserves it, and I think that cast and that crew deserve it. So we're I mean, we're so excited about season 3 and some of the ideas that we have.
Dude, I can't wait to watch.
And you guys have such hitters on that show.
I know.
It's such, and the styling of the show. I mean, it's so much different.
It's so
than
beautiful.
LA. It's different than Mothership. It's a beautiful, beautiful show.
Yeah.
And it's very
DP
singular.
is a superstar.
Should we move on to Probies?
Yes.
So every week we do something called a Probie question. So we tell people online, like, okay, this is the person who's coming in, and we say Eric is coming in, and what questions do you have for him? So we have our fans dubbed the Probies.
I love it. It's great.
Yeah. There may be a few of them, and I'm going to give you a little spoiler. They're mostly Deke-centric.
They are,
and we haven't hit on too much about Deke's
We haven't.
character here, so this is great.
We've talked more philosophically than we have about the characters.
Well, I was
great.
really interested in hearing about your producerial capacity and all that sort of stuff. And
they were very good questions.
Very
Very
good.
thoughtful questions. Thank you.
And I was sitting here absorbing. I was like, I'm here for this freaking masterclass. I'll take it.
You're taking us to school, and
I'll take it. I like this TED
We're
Talk.
loving it.
I like this TED Talk.
And he's wearing flip-flops. He
If
demands authority
you
with
gonna
the
give
flip-flops.
answers like that, you don't even have to wear shoes, man. You can just go ahead.
One of my
Any
mentors said
bruises
to
on your
me,
ankles from the
Baby, I went to,
this is all from like surfing and
surfing?
spearfishing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm wounded.
Buddy, I
Pan
went
down
to-
and see these feet.
I went to
that's
Oberlin.
going to end up on some weird website. That's not great.
Can we get an insert?
But I
Can we
also
get a
I had a
close-up?
mentor that said to me, it was my girlfriend in college who was incredible, and her dad was an incredibly successful businessman. And he goes, "Listen, you can do this." Said it like that.
Just a little-
you
this is this,
can do
this.
you.
I mean, he's
This?
dressed like to the nines, like so dialed in. He's-
Yeah.
You can do this, but you need to have like a nice watch so people know it's a choice. And I
Let's
was
see the
like,
watch.
no, it's an Apple Watch. But I
still a nice
did
watch.
get it.
That's
He
a nice
did
watch.
help me like go and get my first like nice watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I literally would wear the same thing, flip-flops and like a white V-neck that I bought at like Marshall's. Like that was every
people
day.
know
No.
it's a
You can't
choice.
scare me. You can't scare me. I went to Oberlin, and them trust fund kids were coming to school without shoes on at all. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
Well, that's flex money when they just don't even, they got pajamas.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, mine was like he was like, you have to be taken seriously. You need to not. He's like, you got to take off the puka shells and put on a nice watch. he was not wrong.
It's a strong play.
okay. Here we go.
Were you ever allowed to improvise Deeks' jokes, or were they mostly scripted?
Oh, so many of them were improvised.
Yeah.
It's a. I don't know if I can tell that story.
Sure. We can always cut it later.
So
Or not.
no, I
We
can
probably
tell it.
won't cut it.
Yeah, great.
Shane, like deep into season 2, like we got a little bit squirrely. And people just kind of like not knowing their words. And he gave us a hard speech. Like, these are the words. And the show is dependent on what it is that we put on the page. So you get them right word for word. Like did his hard voice. And I was like,
Okay.
oh. And I was literally just like in this speech, like we're all sitting there as after a table read. And I was like, oh crap. And then he came up to me afterwards. He goes, you just keep doing what you're doing. And I was literally just like looked around. I was like, but you just told everyone to stay on script. And then even in my audition, as I told that story, like he had me improving like crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think it's, as a now producing, like if your improvs aren't catering to story or character and you're taking away from what needs to be accomplished in the scene, then you're wasting our time.
Yeah.
So they have to be specific enough that they can be usable.
Right.
And so much of that was like making sure that, especially with Danny and I together,
Yeah.
that we were telling the story, we were hitting the procedural beats, but also having as much fun as possible. Because I do believe like if the characters are having fun, your audience is having fun.
Absolutely.
So yes, a ton of those were improvs. Scott Gemmell has some of the greatest lines though that I ever said on that show. Like he is a comedic genius, like legit comedic
Nice.
genius.
That's awesome.
So
Okay.
so yes and yes.
No, perfect. This is one that I've seen floating around a lot. What happened to Hetty?
Oh, that's such a good question. So she asked me to write her last episode. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So I brought her back
That's an
for I don't even know what we named that. Monster. I brought her back for Monster, and she had a lot of dialogue in that episode, and it was a really tough episode where she's like holding what was supposed to be a mirror to Callan's journey. Like she had created this person who like we talked about the consequences of violence, especially when violence isn't a choice that you're making, but it's brought to you and
Right.
then you're given that skill set.
Right.
And this person imploded after she took away love from the equation. So love is gone and now it's just violence. And this person comes back to hunt her down. And then she kills him. He's lying in her arms and she's giving him the same poem that she gave him when he was a kid, that she pulled him out of these caves in Italy. It was a lot of dialogue and it was really difficult. And I was like off camera dying because this is someone that I love and I'm watching her struggle through dialogue that was overwritten.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you like terrified that she was going to be like, what the fuck am I doing? And she ultimately said, she was like, I want you to write an episode for me. And maybe she pitched Russia. She's like, maybe I'm in an apartment in Russia. And I was like, okay, let me think on that.
Yeah.
And ultimately didn't get a chance to tell that story. So
Yeah.
she's still out there.
Yeah.
And there should be, as an audience member, but also as a person that like deeply loves her, there should be some sort of end to that story. And I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Like a beautiful end to it. Something that
I think we need resolution.
Mm-hmm.
I think the idea that it's floating for eternity needs something to be, we need closure. Yeah. It's a great question. I don't know. I mean, I have a whole pitch for what I would do with that and what she did and why she chose to do what she did. But I mean, of course I cry all the time, but when she asked me that question, I definitely got tears in my eyes and I was like, whatever you want.
Wow.
Yeah. That's beautiful, man.
Well, if you want a platform to come tell that story,
On the mothership?
yeah.
I'll
actually.
write it with you. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
That'd be fun.
And I'll show up on time, buddy. I'll be there right on time.
I love that. Yeah, Hetty needs closure. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I should go back and rewatch that episode. She was so good. Gave her such impossible dialogue. Such like overwritten prose.
You know what though? Overwriting though, when you're a talented writer, overwriting sometimes is an act of love. It is a
You want to give.
I believe that you did that as your way of showing love.
That's very generous of you.
Giving a lot of at-bats is a good thing.
Yeah.
You know? It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the guest star in that episode was so good too. It worked. Everybody was good in that episode.
Thank you so much for doing this episode with us.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having
Yeah.
me. I love that you guys
Thanks,
are
man.
doing this. And I think that stories that live in isolation just on the show, like these kind of conversations are really fulfilling for people to understand the people behind them, but also the mechanism that creates them. I remember my grandpa when I'm at Pepperdine and I booked a TV show on Fox and I had a scholarship that ended in 4 years. So I had 16 credits and I canceled one class. So I went down to 12 credits. And my mom told my grandpa, he was like, well, he dropped a class because he's on a show for Fox. And he goes, what? What night? And he goes, well, it's Tuesday nights. It's on after 90210. And she goes, well, what does he do in the rest of the week? He thought that we shot it like live.
The day of.
That like that's 1 hour of his life. What's
Yeah.
he doing the rest of the week? And I think that at some point I did the math of the amount of hours that you've put in and that I've put in and that you've put in to doing this show. I think it's good to have these conversations to understand like that there is like such a crazy machine behind it to make this possible.
Yeah.
And such an important, you know, it's different than film because people are inviting you into their home every single week.
Yeah.
These are characters that they consider family because they've spent so much time. And I'm sure you know from doing events, like the thing that always breaks me and why I love the universe so much is someone will come up and say, I started watching your show when I was 12.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I watched it with my mom
Yeah.
and I watched it with my grandpa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 3 generations of people watch that show. Like that you guys are telling stories that people watch as a family. It doesn't happen much anymore, especially in the television that we're in where they're just trying to capture one specific demographic. And then that 12-year-old who's now 25 and she goes, and my grandpa's dead. And I still watch the show because it reminds me of him. And it reminds me of these times that we had together. And as a, like, you know, a beautiful full circle moment, like that's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
it's incredible that you guys are doing this and the success that you've had, and also, you know, anybody that's listened to the podcast that then recognizes the amount of effort that goes into it from the 250 people and 12
Yeah.
people in here that take the time out of that bandwidth to say, this is what I'm going to choose to do. So,
And I'm so
congrats to you
glad that
guys.
people listening this week get to see what it is you're doing, because they may see your name and they may miss your name, you know, as it scrolls across as executive producer on all these different shows. And I love the fact that you get to share this with everyone right now and talk about what you're doing, you know, since they're not seeing you every single week as Deeks. So
That's very kind of you. And my mom gets very mad. She's like, why aren't you doing more interviews? Why aren't you doing more press? Like, she gets so angry that I'm not like, I was
Well,
like,
maybe
Mom,
you
You
can
can
tell
send
her
her this.
you can say,
You have to
"Wait,
send her this
I went-
I will
immediately.
absolutely send this to
I
my
went
mom.
and talked with a
She was
couple
like,
friends. and I'll let you in on it.
She goes, why don't you just go on the show? And it's like, Mom,
Hey,
I love moms.
by
They
the
do
way,
that. Hold on. My mom does this too. She's like, why don't you just ask to be on SNL? Why don't you just ask to host the Tonys? Why don't you just go be on the show?
you know what the best answer to that is?
What?
Okay.
Yeah.
I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks,
I'll
mom.
see what I can do.
Yeah, can I be on SNL?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
Why not? Yeah.
But
I
your
see you.
success is also like, people see it and they go like, well, you know, she did that.
Yeah,
transferable.
That's true. That's true.
Do
I
the other
agree.
thing.
Yeah, do the other thing. You
do
did
the-
this, you can do anything.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you for having
really
me.
Appreciate it.
This
And
was
thank
really
you
fun.
guys so much for listening or watching to another episode of NCIS Partners and Probies. You can catch us each and every week on Tuesdays on, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Odyssey, or wherever you find your podcasts. We'll catch you next week.
You don't have a teleprompter for that. You just knew that?
She just
Yeah.
knows it. Yeah.